My name is Sejatukwe Clote, and I'm a multidisciplinary artist who works and lives in La. What I'm interested as an artist is engaging community as part of my process. Not only that, but also expanding conversation around environment as well as politics and gender and basically everything. But recently, what I'm working on is this exhibition that you are seeing is basically a mirrored version of the Desert X, which is an exhibition held on the desert. And my piece for the exhibition is called Wishing Well. Wishing Well refers to the water scarcity and how people trek for a long distance to collect water. So I'm looking at the Coachella Valley as well as Labadi, although it's two different continents, but they are facing the same problem, which is the water scarcity. So I'm interested in how do I engage these two species with the yellow cube, which represents the water storage. So this is basically the exhibition. But further to that, I'm interested in how exhibition transforms space. The work in Desert X is a mirrored version of what is happening right now, but I've incorporated a lot of my works from the previous years into the space. And also, as a performing artist, I have about 100 people that we work as a collective, and we do a lot of improvised performance around the city. We did one in 2012 called Whose Puppets Are You?, which is basically to comment on the political situations in the country. So what we did was, together with the collective, we collected we peeled all these political posters on the streets during, in the night, because it's not allowed, it's against the law if you do that in public. So we went on the streets 4 days before election, and I myself represent the youth, and the collective represent a political candidate, well dressed in a suit and tie. And then we went on the street, and they were just throwing envelopes at me, which represent corruption in the country. So I tried to collect the envelopes, and they pull me, they drag me all over the street. So it talks about how politicians manipulate the youth during election, and afterwards they have nothing to offer them. Further to that, I'm interested in how my practice has evolved over time through the help of the community, and how the community has played a major role in my practice. So whenever I have a show abroad, I try as much as possible to show the work in the community for them to feel the belonging, to be part of the work before the work navigates to wherever is going to be shown, So yeah. I work with the plastic jerrycans known as Kuffour Gallons, because it was named after the ex-president, because during that time there was a very strong water scarcity, so it was named after him. And so I've been working with this gallon for the past, let's say, 17 years, and the work has evolved over time, because from the beginning I was using the full gallon, the volume, and the idea was brought up through upbringing, living in Labadi, and how water scarcity was a huge and major problem. So I grew up with these gallons, and I felt that because lucky enough we had a fountain, so I don't have to carry water, but we have people coming in and out to collect water. So when they are broken, people just dump it in our house, and for me they were available materials for me to work with, because they were there, and then so I decided to approach them without the intention of looking at its research background. But over time I began to look at the aspect where it comes from, and where does it go after it's been used. And I realized that it's used for transporting cooking oil from Europe to Africa. Then because oil is a need, we consume, and then it becomes a problem after we use the oil, because we use them to store water, and it's not hygienic to store water in them. And then we discard them around the community. So I'm interested in how do we transport the same object back to the West by changing the form and value of it, which is what you are seeing here. I was able to think around how do I use my artistic practice to manipulate these objects and change the function of it, so that people will not store water in them. And so from the beginning, when I started cutting them, there was a huge conflict between the community and myself, because they used that to survive water. But when they realized that I was cutting them, they were not happy with that. So it was a bit of a conflict where I had to bring them to the studio to educate them that it's not hygienic to store water in them. So we have to find a way because they are causing a lot of environmental hazards in the country. So the idea was to send it back to the West, where it comes from, by changing the form and value of it. This is what we are seeing. So I work with my collective, about 15 studio assistants who we collect them from the dump site. We buy them actually, and we have people in the community donating as well as selling to us. So which has actually created a job because we buy them from people and then we transport it on our back to the studio. Within the routine of transporting them from the dump site, we dress like women, you know. And it's funny, but because I'm a performing artist, I look at all aspects of my process where women are very attached to the gallons. Anytime you see gallon, it's very meaningful to women. So we dress like women to be able to create conversation around the collecting and transporting them into the studio. So yeah, we have a routine, and also we have guys who are cutting them into smaller squares. We have other groups drilling every single square. Then we come together to stitch. So I mean, what I'm interested in the process, which I'm very much aside because it's quite labor intense. So when I started working, I started with just men, you know, but the work has evolved over time where women feel interested in, you know, helping with the process. So now we have a couple of women working with the guys as well. And in terms of making it very functional in the country, we decided to build houses with it. You know, it's still in an experimental stage where we are looking at working collaboration with an architect who will basically, you know, work together with us to create mobile houses where it could be an art installation, but also we see how people react to it, how useful it could be to people who, you know, are less privileged in housing, you know. So and also we're looking at making it more functional, because I realized that engaging the community as part of the work, they put in ideas as such as, you know, using it for roofing, you know, for covering, you know, buildings and all that. So, you know, the ideas are quite broad, and we engage anybody who thinks there could be a need of using this, not just an art piece, but more functional to the locals itself. You know, I have like 15 assistants where they work full time, so it's a paid job. And also I'm interested in expanding that, but there's nothing like fundings for artists here. Most of the funding comes from the West, but you know, there are other fundings, but you know, I don't rely on those fundings. I'm interested in how I could use my own will to help the community, and if the government find that important to the country, you know, we are open for support. But most of the projects I found the projects myself. I mean, the work travel around. There are few pieces that has been commissioned by various institutions like Facebook. I was commissioned by Facebook 2018 to do a huge piece, which actually got us some money to expand what we are working on here. And then, yeah, so there are a lot of institutions and museums that has shown interest, and that has shown the work, which also add value to it. I think the challenges are quite a lot, but as an artist, you know, your career is a challenging job. You know, like first you have to feed yourself, you have to feed your family before you can feed other person. But you know, art has been like that. It doesn't come easy. You know, you have to work, you have to like give in your all, you have to toil and all that. But at everything, it pays. You know, so I survive with the art. I don't have any other job than just what I do as an artist. So I think the challenges come from you understanding what you are doing, because from the beginning it never pays, because nobody is interested in who can just wake up and buy a gallon as an art piece, you know, because it doesn't make sense. But if once the person understands the process and they are seeing where the work is heading towards to, you know, then the person will be interested in investing. But art has always been a challenging job, and until you never give up, you might think it's just it doesn't pay. Yeah. I mean, my work needs, my production is very expensive. So, and I also want to expand, you know, the practice, and I want to have a bigger space, a number of assistants that can make production really fast and effective. So I mean, I'm open to any support, but whilst I'm waiting for the support, I'm still doing my work, and I've had a lot of support globally. So if my government find what I'm doing very inspiring and important, and I mean, I'm open to support. Okay, so I grew up with my dad, who is an artist. My dad is a painter, Seth Clotte, who is my dad, and I grew up with me. So I've always been with the arts, until I decided to express myself in different forms, which is what you are seeing now. So, but I'm, my upbringing, I grew up in Labadi. I schooled here as well and had the sponsorship to study art in Brazil. So I think Brazil actually changed the way I see art, and for me it was a breakthrough because I was able to understand the various art forms, which I found myself in that. So my upbringing has been very centered around my practice now. So the cubes were a mirrored version of a show that I'm part of in California called the Desert X. It's an exhibition held on the desert. So it's about 13 artists from different parts of the world, and I'm one of the artists from Ghana who is representing the country. And the cube represents the water scarcity because it's made up from gallon, and 2 cubes represent Coachella Valley community as well as the Labadi community. So since I work and live here and I'm from here, I'm interested in how do I bridge these 2 cities that is facing the same problem. So a problem shared is a problem solved. So that is what the cubes. And because the show is going on in California, I try to mirror the same show here in Ghana so that the public can experience the work. Because not everybody can see the work in that space. Even myself, I haven't seen the work itself, but I instructed the installers, and they managed to install the work successfully. So, and like I said, as an artist, my work is centered around the community. So wherever I show abroad or wherever I show any part of the world, I try to mirror the exhibition in Labadi community for people, to experience and to feel the belonging of, whatever I create, because they are part of the process. And I always say, I have no idea. Even what I'm doing right now, I don't know how I got into this. So I think the future is a mystery. The future is your own projection. However you project the future, that is it. So 5 years from now, it's just a mystery. Yeah.